Hello, yes, I'm Anne Lovelace, writer of the Disgraceful cat poems, and I've been an enthusiastic Orpheus volunteer for nearly 20 years. So, why a book about cats? I've never had a cat, so how did I come to write about them? Well, I'll come to that in a minute. Before I do, I will just say that interestingly, the little acquaintance I have had with cats has been with former Orpheus students. For instance, Rory Dyer, since leaving Orpheus, has lived in a flat in London with his much-loved cat, Tara, and whenever I visited him, Tara was always in tow and very well behaved. However, I can't say the same about Oliver, the nosy cat belonging to former student Jenny Mussell. When I worked with Jenny as her scribe, as soon as I put my folder of notes on the table, in a blink of an eye, Oliver's on the table with his head inside the folder, trying to tear out the paper. Then thirdly, there's Speckles, the cat belonging to former student Gary Wheeler. I definitely had to get used to Speckles, up close and personal, in fact. One of the care team attending Gary was seriously allergic to cats. And if my visits coincided with her attending to Gary, the routine was that I would have to firstly search the area outside Gary's room for Speckles, pick him up, grab him with difficulty, and hold on to him, which he firmly tried to resist. I then had to knock on the door and call out that I'd arrived, then hide round the corner while the carer came out and tore down the path to safety. It was then safe to bring Speckles inside. But none of this is what led me to write the book, Disgraceful Cats. Sometime last year, a tennis friend of mine, Helen, you'll meet Helen shortly, showed me pictures of her cartoon-style drawings of cats. She said she'd heard that I wrote verse, and would I be interested in writing poems about cats with characters, and she would then draw cartoons to match them. Well, always up for a challenge, I agreed, and I came up with 6 tales of quirky cats in verse, and that's how it began. The son of another tennis friend agreed to put the words and drawings into a beautiful design for a book. Then 2 loyal and generous Orpheus supporters donated the money to pay for a stock of the books to be printed. From the start, the idea was for all the proceeds from the sale of the books to go to Orpheus. Originally, the book launch was going to take place at a live fundraising concert at Orpheus in April last. As the show had to be postponed because of lockdown and won't now be taking place until next spring, it was decided to go ahead and promote it online, here and now. So to get you in the mood and thinking about the book, and cats in general, sit back and enjoy your presentation. Let's start with Rory Dyer, who's going to treat you to a recitation of one of the poems.
Paula, the caterwauler. Paula was a cat who just loved to sing with a dreadful sound that made the ears ring. She gathered some like-minded cats to form a choir, whose efforts at harmony were dreadfully dire. The cats were so pleased they just didn't care. The neighbours were left in total despair. They tried using earplugs, but to no avail, for they still could hear the high-pitched wail. Unaware, it seems, of the distress they caused, all the cats loved it and clapped their paws. Paula was proud of her musical caterwauling, and looked upon it as a special calling. She was so ambitious to spread the word, she wanted her choir by all to be heard. She even made a surprising change to give her choir a more balanced range. She approached some dogs with a proposition to agree to come for a singing audition. Up to London they all did then go, with a plan to ambush a certain show. Into the Albert Hall they stealthily crept, and up to the stage they cheekily stepped. The next day the papers were full of the story of them drowning out Land of Hope and Glory. That was Paula the Caterwauler by Anne Lovelace, read by Rory Dyer.
It's time now to meet the creator of the cat drawings for the book, the talented Helen Percival.
Hi, I'm Helen. I'm a cat cartoonist, and I'm going to explain how I came to be involved in the book. When the idea first came about, I was busy painting cat cartoons and selling them at craft fairs. I then bumped into Anne at our tennis club. Anne writes comic verse and is passionate about fundraising for Orpheus. I showed her some of my illustrations, and we then came up with the idea of creating a book to raise money for the charity. I have two cats with very different personalities. Kelly is sociable. He's a favourite with the neighbours and thinks nothing of popping out to the pub with my partner Gerald. Safi is the daughter of an imperial grand champion, no less. She is very pretty and definitely used to the finer things of life. She's a foodie and gets lots of little treats. In fact, her diet is better than mine. Anne kicked off our book project with 6 cat poems that really made me laugh. She sent them over by email, and at that point I had my doubts. I'd never done anything remotely similar before and wasn't really sure that I was up to the task. I reread Anne's poems and realised that she had actually done most of the work for me. She painted such vivid images that the illustrations almost drew themselves. I must say it took me a lot longer to do my part than it took Anne. Maybe down to the fact that Anne has written 11 books. Tom, the designer, then did a great job on the design and layout, and I think we have something really pleasing to offer on behalf of the charity. The book will make a great gift, and I think that all cat lovers will be able to relate to the stories and pictures in it. All the proceeds from the book will go to Orpheus, and we both really hope that people will support the charity and the work that it does. Thank you.
Our founder, Richard Stilgo, was, as many of you know, associated with the lyrics of the famous musical Cats. The inspiration for the show was itself based on poems about cats. I hasten to add I make no claims for my poems to match those of T.S. Eliot, nor to be as great a wordsmith as Richard. Another former student whose wonderful singing talent has wowed us all on so many occasions is now going to treat you to her rendering of a song from the show. So here is Charlotte Rowling singing Memory.
Hello everybody, it's Charlotte Rowling's here. It's nice to be with you. The launch of Anne's book Disgraceful Cats, and this is my disgraceful cat. I sing Memory. Midnight, not a sound from the pavement. Has the moon lost her memory? She is smiling alone. In the lamplight, the withered leaves collect at my feet, and the wind begins to moan. Memory, all alone in the moonlight, I can smile at the old days. I was beautiful then. I remember the time I knew what happiness was. Let the memory live again. Every street lamp seems to beat a fatalistic warning. Someone mutters and the street lamp gutters, and soon it will be morning. Daylight, I must wait for the sunrise. I must think of the new life, and I mustn't give in. When the dawn comes, tonight will be our memory too, and a new day will begin. stale cold smell of morning. The street lamp dies, another night is over, another day is dawning. Touch me, it's so easy to leave me all alone with the memory of my days in the sun. If you touch me, you understand what happiness is. Look, a new day has begun.
That song, of course, was made famous by the singer Elaine Page. I think she'd be impressed by Charlotte's rendering. Incidentally, many of you know that one of our patrons at Orpheus is Dame Judi Dench, and she was to have been in the original production and would have sung that song, but she suffered an injury beforehand and had to pull out. Charlotte's not only a talented singer, but thanks to one of our Orpheus volunteers, Paul Hollis, she and other former students have developed the skill of creating beautiful pieces of stained glass. These are sold at craft fairs and Orpheus events, with some of the money going to Orpheus. And this gave me the idea to ask Paul if they could make some comic cats in glass. Have a look. They will be on sale at our next big fundraising show, which is planned for next March. Paul does commissions for anyone who would like something made, and Charlotte does too. So look up their websites. Of course, like me, probably because of me, my daughter Sarah also has had a very limited experience of cats. But you know, things can change. Of course, when you were growing up, you never had a pet, did you? Well, apart from the budgie. So you never got used to having a cat. Did you actually dislike them?
I definitely dislike cats. My friend's cat used to climb over me when I used to stay the night with her and try to eat my hair.
Right. But then, of course, you met Tom and married Tom, and he loved cats. So how did you get round that one?
He just came home with a 5-week-old kitten. I was absolutely furious with him because I didn't want to have a kitten. We lived on a main road in Croydon, a flat, couldn't have access to the garden. And so I told him he had to take the kitten back the next day. George lived with us till he was 20.
So you were converted?
Yes.
But that was George. But that wasn't the end of the story, was it?
No, I was adamant that once George had died, I didn't want another cat. But the girls and Tom, behind my back, brought one home. And I absolutely love her. Florence.
So, a conversion. It's always good to receive testimonials, and here is someone, an actor who lives and works in Paris, who has read the book, and here's his opinion.
Now, I did read this, even though I'm allergic to cats. The animals. Oh, and the musical a bit. And I have to say, I didn't sneeze once. This book really is better than the film. I think it's meowvelous. And when you read it, you'll be feline good.
We've heard from 2 of the former students, and now it's time for a third one, Jo Langston. And she, like the other 2 you've heard, has remained loyal to Orpheus even though she has long since left being a student. Many years ago, I remember hearing Jo sing for the first time and enjoying her unique delivery. And the very first song I heard her sing was about her cat, Ginger. Here she is singing it again.
I
it all the day long. Ginger got himself stuck up the mango tree, the mango tree, the mango tree. The fireman came and got him down at 3:30. He stayed out all the day long. He drinks warm milk and he likes his fish, and I like to feed him chicken. He sits on my lap and I give him the strap, and he goes to sleep. La 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 la
Here is another testimonial to entice you to buy your copy of the book.
Dogs are an open book. Almost everyone understands what makes dogs tick. But cats are an enigma, so people write poems about them. Anne has written this splendid book. Wonderful poems about cats. The last time somebody did a book of poems about cats, it was T.S. Eliot, and it made a moderately successful musical and an utterly terrible film. So Anne, don't sell the film rights.
I never fail to be impressed by the hard work and dedication of the Orpheus fundraising team in raising much needed funds to keep Orpheus afloat. It has, of course, been incredibly difficult for them in recent times, as it has for all charities. By purchasing the book Disgraceful Cats, you'll be making a significant contribution in helping this great organisation to continue their inspiring work for young disabled people. And of course, at the same time, Helen and I hope it'll bring you some enjoyment.